New tonight, the Springdale School Board has signed off on a construction plan to replace two aging elementary schools. During tonight's meeting, they approved contracts for Westwood and Jones elementary schools. Both of the schools were built in 1959. The plan approved tonight calls for Rogers-based Corps architects to design both schools. Naples Construction will build the Westwood building, with Baldwin and Shell Construction building the new Jones elementary school. Well, affordable housing remains one of Fayetteville's biggest challenges, but one local real estate company is working to change that. Their latest project aims to give low-income families more than just a place to live. It's about creating a community they can be proud of. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer gives us a look into this venture.
The village at Skull Creek in Fayetteville may look like any other apartment complex, but for its new owners, it's a mission.
I believe we are making some differences in the community, and we're proud of that.
Jayash Ramnati and Krishna Verna wanted a change. They bought the 54-unit property earlier this year. With rent starting at $490 and Section 8 vouchers accepted, their goal is to preserve and improve affordable housing in Northwest Arkansas.
There is a need for affordable housing, so it's not just affordability, it's also giving an edge to the low-income residents that are there across Arkansas to get less competition across the market.
They say upgrades are already underway, from air conditioning repairs to restoring the complex's reputation.
Our goal is you should not live here just because you have to live. You live here because you want to live.
Fayetteville City Council member Dr. DeAndre Jones says the project reflects a growing movement to protect housing as a basic right.
I think that this is an opportunity to meet individuals where they are, and that is making sure that we understand what affordable housing means and that we're able to deliver.
He says keeping housing within reach requires collaboration from private developers to city leaders.
Even though that work has been done with the Skull Creek, and it's commendable, I hope that others, and I'm confident as well, that others will follow suit.
For the pair, it's a start, and they hope the ripple effect will be felt for years to come.
It used to be a, bright star in the sky, and I hope we make it back again and give the life that it deserves.
In Fayetteville, covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
The village at Skull Creek will remain income restricted, offering options for low-income families and people on fixed incomes who might otherwise be priced out. Well, Fort Smith remains under Phase 2 water conservation restrictions following a major water main break. On August 3rd, an estimated 1 million gallons of water were lost near Phoenix Avenue and Airport Drive, leading to emergency water conservation. But city officials say some residents and businesses are ignoring the restrictions, which include no lawn irrigation, vehicle washing, or filling pools. Director of Water Utilities Lance McAvoy says following these rules is the only way for the city to return to normal water use.
By all of us pulling together, obeying the water conservation, we're going to be able to end water conservation sooner than later. And that's the biggest takeaway, is the more we conserve water now, the sooner we don't have to conserve water in the future.
He also says if people continue to ignore Phase 2 protocols, the city may begin issuing fines. Well, parts of Fayetteville and Goshen are also being urged to conserve water this week. The most impacted areas are east of Crossover Road, and this is due to dry conditions and extreme heat leading to increased demand. The city has alerted people there to avoid non-essential water use to help the system recover and to prevent outages, of course, during the summer heat. Well, lawmakers in the Arkansas State Capitol held a news conference today about a state that would require the display of the 10 Commandments in public school classrooms. Last week, a judge partially stopped the law from taking effect. Catherine Rowley was at today's news conference and has a look at how supporters plan to move forward after last week's ruling.
We cannot separate the history of our nation and the founding of our law and justice system from the 10 Commandments.
Lawmakers, lawyers, and organizations gathered at the Capitol today to show their support for Act 573.
This is about the histories and traditions of the United States, and the 10 Commandments plays an important role in that.
The new law approved during this last year's legislative session requires public schools and government buildings to display the 10 Commandments. It was also set to go into effect last week until a judge put it on hold as a group of parents worked to overturn it, calling the act unconstitutional. But supporters say the U.S. Supreme Court already weighed in on this debate.
This has been part of history and tradition for a long time in America. The lawsuit that happened here was not a surprise, knew that would be coming, but also knew that with what the Supreme Court had given us in 2019, that there's really firm footing on this, because this is something that has a long-standing historical tradition in America, and that's teaching the Ten Commandments to students. So this has been key for so much of our history and just returning to really what has worked in previous generations.
While the ongoing lawsuit is focused on displaying the Ten Commandments in just 4 of Arkansas's schools, proponents of the ruling say it's not giving up.
We're obviously in disagreement with the ruling of the judge at the district level, but that will be appealed.
That was Catherine Rowley reporting. The 8th Circuit Court of Appeals in St. Louis ruled that Arkansas's ban on gender-affirming care can go into effect. Today's ruling comes after a Supreme Court ruling on a similar law in Tennessee earlier this year. The Arkansas law prohibits doctors from providing gender-affirming hormone treatment, puberty blockers, and surgery to anyone under the age of 18 in Arkansas. Well, Act 565 is now in effect, giving more power to teachers to keep their classrooms safe. The bill, passed in this year's legislative session and signed into law, allows teachers to remove violent or disruptive students from the classroom. Now, instead of returning to class immediately or the next day, those students will have to meet with parents, teachers, and administrators to come up with a plan for addressing bad behavior. Tonight, we're hearing from the bill's sponsor, Representative Scott Richardson of Bentonville. He says he hopes more legislation is passed to make sure when students are disciplined, they receive the support they need.
So the reality is a lot of these kids, if you expel them, which is an option that schools have, but if you expel them, they go home to an environment that doesn't provide reinforcement, doesn't provide learning opportunities, and they're not going to get anything from that.
Richardson says there was another bill presented to address those concerns, but that bill was not passed. Another new law taking effect in Arkansas is the Bell-to-Bell No Cell Act. This requires public schools to go cell phone free. It does provide some exceptions for emergencies and other situations, and about 1/3 of districts participated in a pilot program for this last school year. You can find more details on the law by visiting our website, 5newsonline.com. Education Secretary Linda McMahon was in Arkansas today visiting with students. It's part of her national tour to all 50 states to mark the start of the new school year in what she calls the Returning Education to the States tour. Governor Sanders joined her for stops at 2 Little Rock schools and for a roundtable discussion in Saline County with teachers and administrators there. Well, as President Trump prepares for a high-stakes meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska later this week, a federal takeover of Washington, D.C.'s police force is underway. Erica Brown has the latest from the White House.
President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are gearing up for their face-to-face meeting set for this Friday in Anchorage, Alaska.
We're going to see what he has in mind, and if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first.
Trump announced the talks with the Russian leader only days ago, and the White House is lowering expectations about the meeting's potential outcome.
This is a listening exercise for the president. Look, only one party that's involved in this war is going to be present. And so this is for the president to go and to get, again, a more firm and better understanding of how we can hopefully bring this war to an end.
As of now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has not been invited to join the talks. But CBS News has learned that Trump plans to hold a virtual meeting with Zelensky and European allies Wednesday. Here in Washington, the White House is touting what it says are signs of progress, one day after President Trump announced a federal takeover of the city's police department and activated 800 National Guard troops.
They made a total of 23 arrests. A total of 6 illegal handguns were seized off of District of Columbia streets as part of last night's effort. This is only the beginning. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi met Tuesday to discuss coordination and strategy as more troops are deployed. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
And here's a live look out over the White House tonight. The meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin is set for this Friday in Anchorage. CBS News will have live coverage of the summit right here on Channel 5.